Chun, 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 chun,
Chun,
chun,
chun,
chun,
chun.
chun.
Hello
Mars.
everyone, welcome back to 10 Minutes Astrology. Alejo already revealed today's theme. We're going to talk about Mars retrograde. So you look so butch today, huh?
Yes, I'm very punchy today.
And you punch me on the face like, oh.
Ah,
So talking about the Mars, well, the first time I heard about that is um, when if you go to do a statistic, you will find a lot of people, there's a very rare people has Mars retrograde.
hmm
And I agree because if you check all the planet, the Venus, Mercury is retrograde three time a year, and the Uranus, Saturn, Jupiter, or the Uranus and Neptune and Pluto or Chiron, they retrograde maybe around like 4 months to 3 months a year, or even more than that. So, however, the Mars, they retrograde is with their cycles is only like every 2 year and 2 months or something. So
Yeah.
of course that is a very rare configuration in the natal chart. So are they really different?
So let's go back to Mars. Mars, it's our drives, how we do things, how what makes us act into the world, go out into the world and do the things we do, right? So if Mars is retrograde, what we can imagine and is that this, let's imagine words of a sword. Instead of going outwards, it goes inwards. So
Ouch.
that's a sense of, yeah, I would say like self-aggression perhaps, and perhaps the drive to act gets contained. Instead of going outwards, it goes inwards. So I'm constantly reflecting, again, the idea of retrograde. I'm going reviewing what I want to do, what I'm going to do, how to do it, how much courage I have, how much strength I have to do it. But then perhaps it takes me some time to activate it and actually do it. So I think there
Mm.
is kind of contained anger, perhaps, which sometimes may create, I think, resentment because there's this uneasiness, this difficulty in, because Mars is an action, you know, that it's usually, I would say, directed outwards. It's like action in the world is to go and get
Mm.
what you want. So when it gets directed inwards, there might be a sense of frustration of not achieving, not doing what I wanted to do. But of course, retrograde means also special. So maybe what the person will develop is a kind of refinement and a kind of really tuning in into what things for this person are actually valuable to call into action. What is actually important for me to invest this energy and this drive
Mm.
into, where in which areas I really need to be first and I really need to pioneer, and which battles I actually choose to fight. There's kind of awareness in the end. I think at first there's this sense of kind of not restriction, but kind of containment, and perhaps a sense of resentment sometimes because they are not very
Mm.
expressive on Mars, perhaps. But then with time, it comes this awareness of what battles are worth to fight for me. So
Mm.
and then when I finally express this, when I finally go out there, it's going to come out in a refined way. Again, it's not going to be bold. It's not going to be like a raw Mars. It's going to have this kind of, like a stone that you've been working on it and polishing on it. So when it
Mm.
comes out like a diamond.
Beautiful, beautiful. Yes, I really agree with you because the mask way express totally different way, and I like your interpretation about they go inward. So the kind of a force or the sword is going inward. And I did have discuss with one of my client, and who has Mars retrograde. The first time to read chart with a Mars retrograde, I was like. Um, in astrology, it means this and that. And how do you express or what's your experience with this Mars? And then they tell me, say, well, yes, a lot about resentment because my family and my friend usually say I'm not easy to get angry. But for myself, I'm angry with myself all the time. I was like, wow.
Mhm.
Are
Yeah.
they angry about why I'm not angry?
Wow.
I was
Yes.
like, oh my God, that is really fit into the description of the Mars retrograde. And I'm really curious if our audience or, who also has Mars retrograde would like to share your view with us. That would be very, a nice way to let us know. How do you see your Mars in retrograde? Um, Before we jump into the stationary and the chart example, do you want to add a little bit more other things with the Mars retrograde?
No, I think it's okay
Nope.
with it.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. So I will say the Mars stationary. Mars stationary is pretty interesting because usually it's about Mars trine, just few degrees before Mars trine the Sun. So it's part of a Sun Mars journey. When the Sun is about to trine Mars, they usually is about stationary, slow down. And
Hmm.
Mars is a planet who doesn't really enjoy slow down. So the Mars so when Mars is stationary, usually we are kind of, I don't really want to say they were inward, but they focus, they question a lot. They
Mm.
question a lot about the survival issue. They question a lot about maybe what does mean express myself.
Yeah, because
And
I would say if it's a trine with the sun is giving its fire to the Mars.
mm,
So Mars is receiving the vitality from the sun. So I would say there's this idea of staying strong, staying alive, and
mm,
this idea of the identity, the sense of self, being linked to the idea, yeah, you need to be courageous in life and brave in order to survive.
mm. Yeah, so that's one thing. Usually, people are thinking stationary are very similar as a retrograde. I have to say, especially for Mars, it's so different. They are full on because they have that try. There's no filter. There's some Mars has no filter. That try is like keep everything out. So they focus on Mars and they are kind of really feel comfortable to express that Mars energy. That is a very interesting. Well, today should we look a chart?
Yes.
We are kind of a struggle a bit because it's very unusual to find some Mars retrograde. But today, this case, if you know her, if you live in Europe, you probably know this is kind of a Madame of the Europe for last century. She was
Yes.
Angela Merkel. She was ruling Germany for at least what 10, 12 years.
I think so. Yes.
Yeah, and well, not everyone like her, but you have to say she can hold on that position
For
for so
sure. Yes.
many years. That is very different. And okay, should I read her birth time? She was born on the 17th of July, 1954 at 6 p.m. at Hamburg, Germany. So we
So
have, yeah, well,
yes. No, I was thinking, this Mars is retrograde.
mm,
It's in Sagittarius. So Mars in Sagittarius would like to be out there, would like to be very, to be able to express itself
mm-hmm,
in a very bold, exaggerated way, perhaps.
mm,
And but because it's retrograde, it goes inwards, right?
mm-hmm,
So I wonder, her inner struggles, her inner battles on what to do, what course of action to take, what decisions to make, and how to stand her ground. And now,
mm.
because it's in the first house, this was not probably a hidden battle. Probably people could see her and could identify her as this kind of ambivalent figure who, with Mars in Sagittarius, is promising to do so many things, but then seems to be unsure exactly on how to do it or, yeah, which course to take.
Yeah, and that is very interesting. When I look at this chart, I suddenly remember because she is represent that part of a very careful decision making. She
Mhm.
usually kind of even in a kind of a urgent or something, she still say, you're not going to throw the baby with the hot water or something. So like she somehow people will be like, hey, come on, speed up. But it's kind of a no. And for me, maybe that's a very silly stereotype of I think a German are usually doing things in that way, slow and carefully. So I didn't feel different. But I think maybe we should ask our German friend what's their view of this Mars retrograde, prime chancellor in their time. It would be very interesting.
Yes, for sure. Yes.
Yeah. Apart from that, Alejo, I think because this year, in what I mean, if you watch this video long time after, what I mean is in the winter of the 2024, in the winter of 2024, we have Mars going to retrograde from the, I think is the December, the 6th of December until February of 2025. So,
Okay,
and
yes.
the Mars is going to retrograde, move from Leo to Cancer.
Answer.
So, do you have any description during this time? How are we going to apply this energy in our life?
So I would think, it might be interesting to see, first of all, if you know your chart, what
Hmm.
planets Mars is going to touch.
Yep.
Because as it goes from Cancer into Leo, and then from Leo into Cancer, and then from Cancer into Leo again, it means that it's going to touch, if you have planets at the beginning of Leo or at the very end of Cancer, it's going to touch them 3 times. So these
Mm.
planets might feel invigorated. These planets might feel like, might feel like an urgency to do something, to be out there
Hmm.
in the world. And then it's interesting, I guess, but this you know more than me, I think, with mundane astrology. It's interesting to see in the world how the sense of drive, the sense of kind of combat and assertiveness uh,
Yeah.
is expressed in the world, and how maybe during from December to February we have the opportunity to, okay, reflect on what we have done in order for when it goes direct again to do the things in a more proper way.
I think we should be aware about our own chart too, that decision making. And if you have any planet around that degree, you know, that
And
may be
in a very,
nagging you.
in a very personal way,
Yeah.
we say that Mars retrograde usually causes resentment.
Mm.
So it would be interesting to see during December, through December and January especially,
Hmm.
how people feel, if they feel resentment or not, and to be able perhaps not to escape that feeling, but to go
Mm.
deep into it so as to understand why choices were made, so that instead of resentment, one gets acceptance.
Wow.
But to alchemize, to change from resentment to acceptance is very hard. It's not something easily done. And the first step, and you cannot force it, of course. If it happens by the grace of God. I don't know.
Hmm.
But but I think the first step for sure is not to deny it, to be able to accept, yes, I'm resentful for this that didn't go the way I planned. I'm resentful for these decisions I made, for these choices I made. So to be able to go there and, yeah, try to see what comes up from that.
Wow, thank you, Aleppo. That's beautiful word. You put it in beautiful way with this
Thank
resentment, and it's first acknowledge about your own resentment, and you also let us know it's not easy. It's not easy to
It's not
turn
easy, of course.
that.
Yeah,
So be prepared, but also first you ask yourself. That is also the meaning of retrograde. You go deep. You really go deep, and
exactly.
to ask you about anger. Thank you, Aleppo, to share this beautiful idea with us. And next week, we're going to move to the another planet now.
So
That's
next week it's Jupiter.
Jupiter. Jupiter retrograde. See you next week. Bye bye.
Bye.